Donald Trump is being praised by a Bin Laden. So that sounds kind of weird, but hear me out. Osama bin Laden's niece claims 9/11 inspired attack could happen if Trump loses the election. So here we have, courtesy of Yahoo News and via the Independent, that Osama bin Laden's niece has claimed that another 9/11 inspired attack could happen if Joe Biden is elected president. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily that only Donald Trump can prevent it, but he sure is the only one out of the two candidates that are currently attempting to be the president of the United States. He's the only one of the two that could definitely prevent it. I don't think Joe Biden even knows what time of day it is anymore, unfortunately. Gosh, the poor guy has just consistently shown that he's going down and down, and as it comes to down the hill. I mean, it just doesn't seem like he's doing very well, the poor guy. But aside from that, let's go ahead and read a little bit more before we get into it and have a little bit more of a discussion. ISIS proliferated under the Obama Biden administration. Pause. True. Leading them to coming to Europe. Trump has shown he protects America and us by extension from foreign threats by obliterating terrorists at the root before they even get a chance to strike. Noor Bin Ladin, 33, told the New York Post in her first ever interview. So, I mean, in her first ever interview, she's already coming out and speaking against the Obama Biden administration. Now, obviously, she's just one first interview ever. Who is she really to be commenting on certain things? However, it's good to know that somebody from that extended family is actually positive, pro America, pro Donald Trump, period. The cool thing is, and of course, I would probably do something similar along the lines like this if I had an infamous last name. But her branch likes to use the spelling Laden, Ladin, instead of Laden, which Osama bin Laden, a current used at the time of his death throughout his whole life. Ms. Let's go ahead and read on. Ms. Biden, who lives in Switzerland, she's always been American by heart and would be putting her support behind Mr. Trump for the 2020 presidential election. In the interview, she called the upcoming election the most important in a generation. Wow. I've been a supporter of President Trump since he announced he was running in the early days of 2015. I've watched from afar and I admire the man's resolve, she said. He must be reelected. It's vital for the future of not only America, but Western civilization as a whole. Well, I mean, I understand that she may have given this her first interview ever, but those are pretty powerful words. Those are really powerful words that definitely show reflection on Donald Trump, especially if he's making these types of waves through Europe. You look at all the terrorist attacks that have happened in Europe over the past 19 years, they have completely shaken us to the core. Radical Islam has completely infiltrated our society, Ms. Bin Laden said. In the US, it is very worrying that the left has aligned itself completely with the people who share this ideology, that ideology. I mean, I completely agree. We've been saying for the longest time that the leftists are not just normal regular old liberals that we can continue just letting proliferate their message. I mean, it's one thing. I believe for everybody's freedom, everybody, but we need to attack these ideas with other ideas. We need to attack these ideas with some sort of manner or some sort of reflection that we are the ones that are going to lead the country. I was reading a very positive report the other day where it's saying that hopefully the next generation or so, will be very conservative. That this, because I was telling my friends, most of my liberal friends, the ones that we really don't talk, politics about, they don't have kids. So I keep thinking, I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's a positive thing because maybe, and I'm not sure, maybe this is just in the area that I'm coming from, but a lot of where I'm coming from, I live in a fairly big city. A lot of the people who consider themselves, Democratic, BLM supporters and progressives, they don't have kids. You know what I mean? I haven't done the research appropriately and stuff like that, but I look at YouTubers, Tim Pool, Kyle Klinsky, all of these proliferate. They don't have kids. And I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I can understand, that's completely right. But for the progressives, for the leftists, because they don't have kids, I consider Tim Pool a little bit more left leaning, by the way. Um, because they don't have kids, they're not going to be raising a generation of liberals. Right now, they're trying to influence your kids. So conservatives, if you have kids, and you're sending them to school, to local schools, realize that they're very liberalized schools. You need to make sure, because while the progressives and all of those other liberals are not having kids, they're still hard at work trying to influence your kids. They're still hard at work trying to influence the education system. They're still hard at work trying to influence pretty much how a lot of us see socialist, communist professors in all of the universities in the United States. I mean, leftism has completely is a disease that has infiltrated um, higher education, especially when I went to college. Gosh, there were so many. It was just, we'll make another video of that later. It was really disgusting. But to be clear, let's go ahead and finish reading. Ms. Bin Laden has been outspoken supporter of Mr. Trump at the time when the president has faced criticism from the European countries. In Switzerland, where Ms. Bin Laden lives, Mr. Trump has only an 18% approval rating, according to the 2018 Gallup poll. Jesus, 18%. I mean, these people, 18 with their percentages and Gallup polls and polls. Gosh, none of those. I mean, if anything that Donald Trump has done, he's completely broken the polling system. And the reason being is because people aren't telling you that they're going to vote Trump. Everybody who's going to vote Biden, you kind of know who's going to do it, but you don't know all the Trump voters. And that's the thing that people don't understand. That's the type of thing that the hidden Trump voter is really big. I know I've talked a lot of people into voting Trump, and there are a lot of my more liberal friends. So I don't know what to tell you guys. It seems to me that the progressives and the leftists aren't really seeing the country for what it is. They're not really seeing as a whole what this country stands for, what we're standing up for, fighting. And they're lost in a Twitter bubble, and they're lost in a circle bubble. They're lost breathing their own, I don't know, their own farts, I guess you could say. um, let's go ahead and continue reading. Ms. Bin Laden also used the opportunity to publicly criticize Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar. We could do a whole video about her too. You do have a situation now in America where you have people like Ilhan Omar who actively hate your country, Ms. Bin Laden said. It's an honor to be able to go and live in the United States and makes the most out of the opportunity, she added. If she hates it so much, why doesn't she leave? Congresswoman Omar previously asked a Minnesota judge to use compassion after 9 men were charged for planning to join ISIS, which sparked criticism from Ms. Bin Laden. I mean, obviously. Ilhan Omar is obviously. I mean, and trust me, I do not like this lady. And the people of Minnesota who voted for her again, who re-elected her, I completely have no sympathy for you. If for whatever reason her decisions lead to economic or something happening, I mean, I don't care. I don't care anymore. It's your fault. You voted for her again, knowing that the country has such a high disapproval rating for her. Again, local politics, you have every right to vote for who you want locally. I actually encourage that. So if that's who you want locally, that's fine. But you put her on a federal level and you're expecting her to try to speak for you, and trust me, she does speak for you. She speaks for you, she speaks for your district, she speaks for every single person that lives in your district, as far as I can tell, because you guys refuse to vote her out and you refuse to change your leadership. So people who say, oh, I'm so sorry, and I understand if you live in those areas, didn't vote or anything like that, I feel bad for you, but you need to vote, whether it's in opposition or something. Now, if you did vote for Donald Trump and you're in the area, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you need to start going to, if we're asking these people to leave our areas, maybe we should just straight up move out of their areas. I understand what it seems like, but I live in a fairly democratic area and I'm just itching to get out. I can try my hardest. I could beat my head against the drum. The work that needs to be done to flip the area that I live in blue requires money that I just people don't have, and people probably are unwilling. There's certain write-off areas, like people aren't going to try to take over New York again, because we obviously know people aren't going to try to. My city is one of those cities that it's really big for the most part, bigger, so they're not going to try to use a lot of resources to try to flip it the other way around. This is a lost area. So if you live in one of these areas, I want to be encouraging. I know your house is your house. Protect your land, love your land. But if you're living under people, and you're living under rule, and you're living under government that is just not working for you, maybe you need to go and move to another area where government is working for you, so maybe you can empower and enrich those areas. And then maybe on a national stage, people can see the betterment of living under a different type of representative, and then maybe people will start to change. Because I live in one of those areas where a lot of Californians, a lot of people are moving to flee their economic liberal cities, and I don't like it. I really don't like it very much. I don't like liberals coming to my city. I don't like leftists coming to my city. In my city, they tried to start BLM riots, and it happened for all of like 5 minutes before we shut that down quick, because I live in, just to let you know, I live in a predominantly Hispanic city. So we are kind of stuck in the middle here. I'm going to make a video on how we feel in this situation. And I don't speak for all Hispanics. I mean, I'm going to tell you honestly, I'm an American, so I can't really tell you, but I can tell you this much. A lot of Hispanics, conservative Hispanics especially, are not as liberal and leftist as you think. We're very conservative. We religious and all of that stuff, that's us. Hardworking, all of that stuff, that's us. So on a national level, we always hear this line, black and brown, and Hispanics are starting to step back from the conversation and say, hey guys, don't put us in there with you. Don't lump us in there with you. Yes, I will tell you that we do face our issues. Yes, I will tell you that parts of the country need to get better. I will always ask for a country to get better. I live, and I know from personal experience and from conversation with people that some areas are just not there yet. Some areas in West Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi, you guys are just not there yet. I understand, but until I feel 100% comfortable driving through small town Alabama, Tennessee, all of those all of those states, West Virginia, Missouri, if I feel comfortable, once I feel comfortable in every single one of my states, then I'll know that there's no work to be done. But unfortunately, I still don't feel like I can travel in certain areas of my country. Now, I understand that. I'm not saying that our country's terrible. The people in those areas are just they're not there yet. And we need to work to bring them there, along with the people who are on the lefty sides who refuse to work. We need to work with them. They need to bring it down. People in those areas that are still practicing some of those more discriminatory behaviors, they need to bring it up, because there isn't an overall arcing problem. I don't think that there is an issue with racism in America. But there are pockets of us not being able to travel just because, I happen to be brown in certain states that do make it feel uncomfortable. So we do need to address those issues, because I have liberal friends that really have some strong arguments against me, considering that I am Hispanic. So remember, I'm sitting with you guys. I'm standing with you on the side of, hopefully, the right side of history, where we speak out against these issues, where we speak out against these problems, where we speak out of what's going on. All right. Well, that's all for today, guys. I just wanted to go ahead and share and let you know what exactly was going on. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It was just an interesting article that I wanted to go through, and of course, just keep the YouTube going while I continuously hone this particular new aspect of my life. But until then, please remember, interact in the comments. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, and subscribe if you want to. If not, enjoy. And remember, be safe wherever you go and whatever you do.